MTHFR. What is MTHFR? Do you have it? And is it affecting your health? Hi, I'm Dr. Nate Handley, and today we're talking about MTHFR. This is something you may have heard of. It's a gene and it gets a lot of press. It can be very relevant for many people, and it may be linked to symptoms like fatigue, depression, blood clots, OCD, poor memory, insomnia, even heart disease. But it also sometimes gets unfair blame. So, MTHFR stands for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. The gene codes for an enzyme that plays a crucial role in folate metabolism. It also plays a role in something called 1-carbon metabolism. It has a very specific role. It converts a compound called 5,10-methylene tetrahydrofolate to 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. This is sometimes abbreviated as 5-MTHF, or sometimes it's just called methylfolate or premethylated folate. Methylfolate is the primary form of folate found in the blood, and it plays a number of key roles. For the purposes of this conversation, methylfolate is essential for something called methylation. Methylation is a key process that happens in every cell in our bodies. It's involved in protein synthesis, DNA synthesis, DNA repair, turning genes on and off, and maintaining general balance in the cells. If we think of the body as a car, I think of methylation as the oil in the engine. It keeps everything running smoothly. And if MTHFR is the central cog in the wheel of the methylation cycle, methylfolate is the lever that turns that cog. Methylfolate is specifically involved in the remethylation of a compound called homocysteine. Homocysteine gets transferred to methionine, and we often measure homocysteine levels to get a sense of whether methylation is happening efficiently in the body or not. High homocysteine is associated with a number of health conditions, in particular cardiovascular disease and brain health. So, there are several common MTHFR SNPs that can lead to reduced efficiency of the enzyme. The two most common ones are often referred to as C677T and A1298C. The variant an individual has plays a big role in how efficiently the MTHFR enzyme works. A person can have one or two copies of either gene. Each copy of the A1298C gene variant decreases efficiency by about 15%. Each copy of the C677T decreases it by about 35%. So someone who is homozygous for the C677T mutation, that is, someone who has two copies, has an enzyme whose activity is decreased by 70 to 80%. Some of these combinations tend to be more relevant than others. The C677T combination has been studied most, since it is the one that lowers enzyme activity the most. The compound heterozygotes are the group that is next most affected. But there's an important caveat with MTHFR. We think of MTHFR as a low penetrance SNP. This means that just because you have an MTHFR variant doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to have problems. This gene variant is extremely common. Some estimates suggest that up to 70% of the population carries at least one of these SNPs. The impact of MTHFR is affected by many dietary and lifestyle factors. Food quality is one important part of the equation, and foods naturally rich in B vitamins, especially folate, riboflavin, B12, and B6. It's also affected by the function of other genes. So, what do you do with MTHFR? The first step is understanding your MTHFR status. Do you have one copy of the C677T SNP? Two copies? Are you a compound heterozygote? This can be determined with simple genetic testing. And this can be done with blood work or a cheek swab. This can be done either through direct-to-consumer testing or through an integrated medicine practitioner. It's helpful to look at the function of MTHFR in the context of other genes that are also involved in methylation. The second step is really understanding the current function of the enzyme. Even if it has reduced capacity, diet and lifestyle can do can and do compensate for lower function. I have plenty of patients in my practice who fall into this category. They have a variant, but they have normal function. The clearest way to do this is by checking homocysteine levels. And that can be done with a blood test. There are more advanced tests that can provide deeper insights into the overall function of methylation, which we'll talk about another time. A normal homocysteine is probably in the range of 7 to 9 micromoles per liter. It really kind of depends a bit on who you ask. If it's higher, this may be an indication that decreased MTHFR activity is showing up and potentially causing issues. It's worth noting, though, that homocysteine can actually be affected by other things too. Certain medications can affect it, decreased kidney function can definitely affect it, low thyroid function can do it too. The B vitamins, especially riboflavin, B6, folate, and B12, are crucial to supporting MTHFR function. So sometimes targeted supplementation with these can help. Optimal support can be a complicated topic, and we'll do another kind of more detailed dive into this another time. That's when it's especially helpful to work through the issue with, ideally, someone who's skilled, an integrative health practitioner who knows what they're doing. So MTHFR is one part of the picture for many people. It's usually not the only part, though. But you don't know unless you test.